I'm Michael Lafosse from the Origami Studio, and this glider I call the double flap nose lock. It has a very shallow fuselage and a very wide wing base. With a slight toss, it glides slowly and gracefully. With a firmer toss, it actually loops and has more energy. It has some interesting techniques, and it's folded from an 8.5 by 11 piece of letter paper. It's also foldable from the A4, and when the adjustment for that shows up, I'll show you the difference. Start with your letter paper so that you can fold it in half, long edge to long edge. And open. Flatten it slightly. Rotate the paper so that the crease that you've made is vertical. Take only the bottom right half of the bottom edge here and fold it to the vertical crease. Now remember, this proportion is for the 8.5 by 11 letter paper. At this stage, if you were going to be doing the A4 paper, you would have your vertical crease, and your landmark would be to take the bottom right corner up to the crease and fold like that, putting a mark up here. You could also do it this way. Either way, you're going to end up with a crease that terminates at a certain level. This method is for the A4 letter paper. We're using the 8.5 by 11 here. Now unfold. There's the crease, and there's the end of the crease. That's our mark. We're going to take the bottom edge of the paper and bring it up to the level of that mark. Now remember, for the A4, you would do the same thing, but the mark would be higher. The A4 is relatively longer and narrower compared to our 8.5 by 11. Now we have to put in a little crease, a hinge that runs along this cut edge. Don't skip this step. This is very important. Fold up at that level and then unfold. You see the crease that it's made there. That is very important to have. Now let's fold the whole thing in half, long edge to long edge, and keep this rectangular outline at the bottom. That's the crease that we just made that's so important. And here's why it's important. Here, at the short left edge of the rectangle, and this is the single folded edge, not the double edge that opens, but at the short left edge, we're going to fold that folded edge to that marking crease. Now there's several layers here, so it's a bit thick. Make sure your creases are sharp. Take this free vertical edge of the little triangle flap that you've made and fold it to align with that longer folded edge, the hypotenuse of that type of triangle, right there. Again, good sharp crease. So we've got this little setup now. This is for our nose lock. Unfold the flap and bring it back to the rectangle shape. And now let's open the paper like a book. Look at the geometry we have here. This is what we're going to use to lock the nose. Let's use that hinge that we put in earlier and flip this rectangular flap up in front. Now we can turn the paper over left to right, keeping the folded edge at the bottom. We're going to make the pointed nose of the airplane now by taking the bottom right and left corners up and in to the center crease where they will meet. Just like a standard paper airplane point. Now we're going to bring those flaps back down, and we're going to use these creases to help us reinforce the leading edge of the wing by taking the outside edge of the paper and rolling it in to the crease. Like this, and the same thing on the other side. It's the outside thin cut edge comes into the crease. Now we can take these layers and bring them back into place, and you can see how streamlined and also reinforced by the extra layers that paper is now. Let's turn the paper over top to bottom, and we're going to put in the double flaps. This is pretty interesting. They're quite large for elevator flaps, but they really make this paper airplane fly very well. We're going to use very simple landmarks to place them in. We're going to fold the bottom corner up onto the wing, The folded edge that you make will span the wingtip to the center at the back end. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Now these are basically elevons or elevator flaps, so they need to come back down. But you see the valley creases have made them rise up. Now we can use the geometry here to make the nose lock. First, put a little V dent into the middle line of the airplane. Find your creases that will let you bring a triangular flap up into the nose. See, the pre-creasing has done this to make it easy for you. And then continue to fold the paper in half, wing to wing. There is the front end of the little nose lock mechanism. The shallow line of the fuselage is the result of our wing folds going from the corner of this nose lock right to the very back end of the airplane here. It's probably best to put the airplane on the table and have the wings closest to you so you can fold away. You're going to grab this big flap of paper and move it as far as it will go flat from the nose lock pinch point here to the very back end of the plane. Be careful not to make a curved or dished fold. Gradually decrease the radius until you can make a flat, straight fold. Turn the paper over and we can match the other wing. I'm going to show you about these stabilizing wing flaps now. What we're going to do to make the plane more stable is to take the short cut edge of the paper and fold it to the level of this clear line of demarcation, like this, keeping the back edge there. You could have also done that at this stage, before folding the wings, right there at that same level. And in fact, while we're here, we might as well do it to the other one so that it matches. And then we can put our wings back into place. Small versions of this fly very well, so you can actually scale your 8.5 by 11 rectangles down, and then you can throw them harder. These larger ones are great gentle flyers, and if you drop them from a high elevation, they right themselves and they glide beautifully. The nose is locked, it's resilient, it's stable, it's a very nice glider.